Hello, I'm Dawn Durham, and welcome to PaTTANpod, the Pennsylvania Training and Technical Assistance Network, where PaTTAN provides a full array of professional development and technical assistance targeted to improving student results. The work efforts centered around various initiatives. One initiative we want to focus on today is the English Learner Initiative. Joining PaTTANpod is Maria Ronneburger, educational consultant leading the work of this initiative out of the Central PaTTAN office. Maria, welcome to PaTTANpod. We're excited to have this conversation with you today.
Hi, Dawn. Thank you so much for having me. I am excited to be here.
You know, Maria, when we think about all the different initiatives that PaTTAN is able to provide training and technical assistance around, we chose to look at the English Learner Initiative today because I don't think it's one we know a lot about. And with you kind of stepping in to really lead this work, we're so excited to be able to have this opportunity for you to kind of educate all of us around the initiative and these work efforts. So kind of with that in mind, help us understand what is the work that this initiative does, and ultimately, who is it that your team serves?
Yeah, first and foremost, Dawn, in general, we provide technical support and training for our educators who support our multilingual students and families. But our most specialized and focused work is to support those dually identified learners or multilingual learners that have a disability or a need that has substantial impact on their learning and behavior. We ensure that English learners receive appropriate supports and that language is a resource, not a deficit, to maximize their academic achievements and their language acquisition, and not disproportionately identified for special education services.
You know, Maria, you said language is a resource, not a deficit. What a great kind of a piece to hold on to when we think about our multilingual learners, to really see the benefit and the perspective and the expertise that they bring forward when they come to an educational setting, and to really see that as a value and not as a deficit. And you had spoken to, and I just want to stay here for just a moment here, really looking at training and technical assistance across the board, of course, but really specifically looking at those dually identified learners. Can you just briefly explain what it is you mean by a dually identified learner?
Absolutely, and I think I can do more than that. When we're talking about our dually identified, we're talking again about those students that bring an IEP. They may have an IEP, and they also have more than one language. So they're acquiring the English language and also have other languages which they're bringing to the table. And the ways that we support them and their educators is threefold. The one would be we are promoting this interdisciplinary and cross-content collaboration, which is key to be able to build a strong foundation of evidence-based second language acquisition principles and knowledge. So that's where we offer that training and technical support to help schools to be able to identify what I just spoke about. What is a language difference, a cultural influence, and what is a disability? And then in addition, working with those schools to ensure that they have the assessments and data collection measures and metrics to gather a robust body of linguistic and content evidence using, and this is important, comparative data of true peers, both that quantitative and that qualitative data to support those evidence-based practices, and identify those students that have a need and they need additional supports. And then last, above all else, this all cannot be accomplished without developing a strong cultural competency. We work with schools to ensure that we have culturally and linguistically responsive policies and practices in place to address the disparities, improve access to equitable services, and produce better outcomes across the board. So this intersectionality of disability and emergent bilinguals is no exception in presenting significant obstacles and traversing the systems to address relevant responses. And this requires a high degree of cultural competency on both sides.
You know, I appreciate you just taking a moment to kind of pause and just think about what does that term mean, dually identified. And you spoke to, it's those who have been identified as needing special education services, as well as having more than one language. And you talked about really that interdisciplinary collaboration across the board and how necessary that is. You talked about making sure that folks have adequate and the most appropriate assessments to really look and look at the right data that's really going to give us the answers, or hopefully give us the answers we're looking for. And he said it's kind of all encompassing within that cultural competency, understanding that we want to be responsive to those various cultures, and that we have the benefit of having in our classroom environment. So thank you for just kind of pausing there to take a look at that a little bit more closely. So I want to just think about, so you're talking about all these ways in which the English Learner Initiative here at PaTTAN, and you leading that work, can really help schools and districts and really areas and communities to enhance the services and supports that students who are multilingual are receiving. And you know, and when I think about all the times that we're in schools, we're always asking schools to use data to guide and to drive their instruction. We're no different here at PaTTAN, right? We also want to use data to guide what it is or how it is we're providing our training and technical assistance. So thinking about that data, right, what data or needs assessment did you all use to determine what needed to be put in place? What supports and services for practitioners really would benefit the field the most? So if you could just kind of speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, that's an excellent question and very, very important, especially around our work. And when I came into this role in January, I knew that really acquiring that data was going to be important to be able to be responsive to the needs of the district throughout the state. Mm-hmm. So now we know, after hosting a virtual roundtable and engaging in what I call the listening campaign, that means meeting with districts throughout the state of Pennsylvania, that everyone, whether it's a large urban school or a suburban district, or even those small rural districts, what we received clearly back from our various resources was answering the why. Why does it matter most right now to all educators and stakeholders? So after coming through one of the most, tumultuous times in education, we are all trying to find our bearings, and we're taking an inventory and paring it down to what really matters most. And so we know that as a state that we were holding at around 8% English learners in 2017. And up until recently, many schools didn't even think about paying attention to cultural and linguistic responsiveness as a great need, or at least it wasn't top of their professional development list in order to stay afloat. So as of 2020, though, in just 3 years, things have changed. It's not just the number of L's, that's 72,000 and increasing, those that are identified as learning English in our classrooms. But what really should matter as our why is that out of 13 million people in Pennsylvania, 1 out of 7 identified on the 2020 census as being a multilingual person. And so that's a person who speaks another language in addition to English. This has gone up even more due to recent events in this past year. So remember, our schools don't just deal with students. We deal with families, community members. They're our primary stakeholders. So our demographics are changing rapidly. And we need to understand that a previously monolingual system can and should be evaluated to capitalize on language.
You know, I appreciate having a little bit of those statistics. I'm slightly embarrassed to say I didn't know. I didn't know how extensive that growth was in regards to that multilingual population just within Pennsylvania. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. And you talked about our dynamics are changing, and we have to change along with that. Right? The students we're getting into our school buildings may be different now with their languages and what they're bringing to the table for us. And so I think that's something important that you kind of really spoke to, is that understanding the why. Why is it that we as practitioners in the field, particularly here in Pennsylvania, why do we need to be thinking about English learners? And I'm very appreciative, and I have to say, grateful that you are looking at that data, that you said roundtables, and I love your campaign, the listening campaign. What is it that schools across the area are saying they are in need of? And that's really how you determined what your team will focus on for this upcoming academic year. So I appreciate knowing that it's not just something that you all thought, oh, this would be good to talk about, but you're really thinking through what are the needs of those in the field. And I think that's something to be applauded. So thank you to you and your team for really thinking about that and engaging in those listening and conversations and those roundtable conversations.
Yeah, thank you. They were important to us too.
Yeah. I'm sure they were exciting, a little bit daunting at times, but really exciting to hear about what needs to have happen in the upcoming year. And so on that note, here I am, I'm listening to this, I'm recognizing that the dynamics of my classroom are changing, that I myself do not have, I don't think I have the necessary knowledge and skill set to work with multilingual learners or do the best that I think I can do with multilingual learners. How do I, as a practitioner, reach out to you and to your team? How do I get resources? How do I get connected? Kind of walk us through what that may look like for those that are listening and saying, I think this is an area that I may need some assistance with.
Yeah, connection and resources is paramount. And so we want to make that as accessible as possible, as that's what we want for our students. We want that for everybody that we serve. So first and foremost, I'd like to invite people to visit our website. You can find that at PaTTAN.net /multi-tiered systems of support /English learners. And what you'll see is that we are doing a revamping, and our website is currently in development, but we encourage you to visit it for several reasons. One, you're going to see email button where you can just press on and request English learner support, and that'll go directly to me. You can email me your district or your organization's specific need, because that's what we want to do here at PaTTAN, is be responsive and meet your need. So also on that website, you will start to see different tabs, one of which will be a hot topics feature, where we will address topics of discussion that are specifically relevant and picking up traction in the state that everyone's talking about. Right now, Act 158 and the Pathways to Graduation is one that we're developing. And then another one that a lot of people are very curious about, that is a big passion of mine, is cultural navigation. So you'll be able to find some little tidbits on there with certain case studies that you'll be able to look at and then reach out for more resources. There'll be a repository of resources connected to that as well. So in addition to emailing or calling directly, I would also I'm excited to have this opportunity to announce that on July 5th and 6th, we will be hosting our first L conference entitled, Am I Doing What's Best for L's and Dually Identified Students in My District? So this is going to be 1 day in person and then 1 day virtual. So the July 5th will be an in-person day, and July 6th will be a virtual day. And the reason we're doing this, because on day one, we're entitling the day one session, Foundational Knowledge Every Administrator Should Know. And so we're inviting administrators to come out to the Harrisburg PaTTAN office and really explore the term English learner, know the state federal requirements and regulations. And we're going to be using an MTSS framework to be able to talk about those evidence-based practices. And then on day two, the reason we're having it virtual is because we're asking those administrators to go back to their teams. And remember, I first talked about those systems of collaboration, which are going to be key. So we really, really want to encourage that. So we want them to go back, get their teams together, and get them around the table, attend virtually, and we really then start doing the work with their own data and digging into that data. Based off of that conference, we want to hear. We want to hear back from the attendees. We want to know exactly what they took away and what they need more on, so that we can really meet the need directly so it gets right to the classroom, right to the teachers and students.
Wow, you're doing so many things to connect all of us to these great resources. So I just want to kind of go over them again. Visiting the PaTTAN website, specifically looking at the English learner area. There's an ability to email requests directly to you and to your team to say, hey, I think I need some assistance. And then to collaborate directly with you in the initiative to really get those enhancements in place in practice. You also talked about those hot topics for English learners. What a great way to really start engaging in some discourse around what's currently being discussed, what's going on, what may be causing sometimes some uncomfortable conversation around how we want to address and how we want to enhance outcomes for our students, particularly for our multilingual learners. I love the idea of a repository for resources. I always need somewhere to go, and that now I know that that PaTTAN website under the English Learner tab will give me that email request for support, the hot topics, and kind of some information there, as well as that resource repository. And I'm so excited that you announced here on PaTTANpod that you're doing your first English Learner Conference July 5th and 6th. weeks of this year, 2022, knowing that it's a hybrid, both in person and for that first day and virtual that second day. And sounds like you're really looking at application, that you're really looking at take the information that you've gained from our time together and then really look at how does that look, sound, and feel. How do we apply that in the particular school settings that folks will be coming from? So I'm so excited to hear that we'll have that opportunity to really join together and network, as well as to kind of collaborate and learn from each other. So thank you for sharing that. We're excited to have that opportunity to be a part of that along with your initiative and your teamwork.
Yeah, we're absolutely thrilled. And that's what it's going to be, a time to network and really have some honest discourse and connect to the real technical support and training that is what you just said, going to be applicable. It's just not out in the air as theory, but it's what we really need in our schools. So yeah, thank you for allowing me to announce that here on the PaTTANpod.
Yeah, we're excited. I'm excited for that. I'm very much looking forward to that piece. You know, Maria, it's always a wonderful opportunity for us to kind of highlight what it is that initiatives do. And there's so many great efforts that occur here in PaTTANpod and across the Commonwealth that for PaTTANpod to have the opportunity to kind of pause and focus on that English Learner Initiative is just so wonderful. And we're so grateful to you for taking lead on this work and for showcasing the initiative here on PaTTANpod. So thanks so much for joining us today.
I can't thank you enough, as we know that this is definitely something that we're all talking about, we all should be talking about, and that you gave me the opportunity to be able to be here and represent that. I look forward to being able to connect with others and moving forward and see what the year brings. So thanks again for having me.
Oh, we're excited to have you here anytime. Thank you to all of you in the field. You are truly an inspiration to us all. A special thank you to John Ragsdale for producing this podcast. We'll see you next time on PaTTANpod.